Mike Wolfe, the famous star of American Pickers, faced a tragic end when he was sentenced for the death of his longtime co-host, Frank Fritz. Fritz's death, initially believed to be due to complications from a stroke, uncovered a chilling secret when investigators revealed that it was not a natural accident, but a deliberate act. Mike Wolfe, who had once won the hearts of millions of viewers with his image as a passionate and enthusiastic collector, now had to pay the price for the crime he had hidden. Fritz's death was not just the end of a life, but also the fall of a television legend. In the tense trial, Wolfe not only lost all of his fame and career, but also faced a life sentence without the possibility of parole. "Goodbye forever," his final words echoed in the courtroom, marking the dark end for a man once beloved, who ultimately revealed himself to be a traitor. If you feel that this story is a powerful wake-up call for truth and justice, don't hesitate to share this video. Let's stand together, speak up, and protect the values of integrity that we believe in. Don't let deception and betrayal continue to be tolerated. Act today by sharing this video so everyone can become aware and fight for justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on other important stories. Thank you for watching. And remember, the truth always prevails. Wolfe's deliberate poisoning of his former business partner, someone who had complete trust in him, shocked many, with some even calling it a serious crime. While many fans believed the tension between the two pickers was just a stunt to boost viewership, Wolfe is now facing serious charges for what prosecutors describe as a revenge killing driven by jealousy and greed. However, social media reports indicate that the initial charges were downgraded as investigators gathered more evidence. One post revealed that Wolfe was initially arrested after a crew member from American Pickers led him to Fritz's house when he was already dead. The Iowa State Police conducted a thorough investigation and found incriminating evidence, including Wolfe's fingerprints on a pill bottle and suspicious text messages sent to Fritz, prompting them to pursue the first-degree murder charge. The investigation into Fritz's death began when the medical examiner noticed inconsistencies in his toxicology report. The official cause of death was initially attributed to complications from his previous stroke, but the autopsy results revealed that the prescription drug levels in Fritz's body far exceeded the prescribed amount for his condition. This immediately raised red flags, especially since Fritz had been very careful in following his medication regimen during his recovery. The Iowa State Police quietly launched an investigation, focusing on those who had been in contact with Fritz in his final hours. What they uncovered was even more shocking than what veteran detectives had anticipated. Security footage from Fritz's neighborhood showed Wolfe's vehicle arriving late at night, about 3 hours before emergency services were called. That night, it was Wolfe who dialed 911, claiming he had come to check on his old friend and found him unresponsive. When paramedics arrived, they found Fritz non-responsive with no pulse. Despite attempts at resuscitation, he was declared dead at the scene. Initial reports suggested that the cause of death was related to Fritz's previous stroke, but the toxicology results revealed otherwise. What particularly raised the investigators' suspicions was Wolfe's behavior immediately after Fritz's death. Instead of taking time to mourn, as one would expect, Wolfe quickly took action to assert control over Fritz's collection and intellectual property. Within 48 hours, he had contacted Fritz's lawyers about acquiring the rights to Fritz's name and image for future American Pickers merchandise. According to the testimony of a production staff member, Wolfe immediately took action to access Fritz's storage locations containing valuable antiques that had never appeared on the show. Some crew members reported that Wolfe appeared unusually focused and was not particularly grieving when discussing business matters right after Fritz's death. When detectives searched Wolfe's home and office, they discovered a hidden safe containing several unlabeled pill bottles, which were later identified as containing the same type of drugs found in Fritz's system. The most condemning discovery was a journal found in Wolfe's duffel bag, in which he wrote extensively about his growing resentment toward Fritz. Some entries were from years prior, with increasingly hostile language. In one entry just weeks before Fritz's death, Wolfe wrote, "F thinks he can come back and steal half the attention again. He forgets that without me there would be no show. He has become a burden. The network is showing me there's only one way to save what I've built." Throughout the 6-week trial, Wolfe appeared stunned as he sat quietly beside his lawyers while the prosecution presented evidence of how he had methodically planned Fritz's murder. The jury heard evidence showing that he had researched undetectable poisons and methods to make a murder appear as a natural cause. His internet search history revealed queries such as, "Can stroke-drug interactions be detected after death?" and "How to make someone's death look like a stroke complication." The prosecution argued that Wolfe exploited Fritz's previous health issues, using them as the perfect cover for murder. Former American Pickers crew members testified about witnessing troubling changes in the relationship between Wolfe and Fritz in the years leading up to Fritz's departure from the show and his subsequent death. A production assistant testified that she overheard heated arguments about the future direction of the show, with Wolfe demanding full creative control. He told Frank that he had lost his equal payment rights due to his health issues. The assistant testified to this. Several witnesses described Wolfe becoming increasingly controlling, frequently bad-mouthing Fritz to network executives, and isolating him from longtime friends in the antiques community. Perhaps the most emotional testimony came from Danielle Keeby, who reluctantly stepped forward to testify for the prosecution. Fighting back tears, she described confronting Wolfe about his behavior toward Fritz. "I noticed Mike had become obsessed with being the sole face of American Pickers. When I asked him about making amends with Frank, he became defensive and angry, telling me to stop interfering in things that weren't my concern." Colby described finding disturbing notes in Wolfe's office about Fritz's medication schedule and questioning Wolfe, who claimed he was only concerned about Frank's health. The defense attorneys tried to paint a picture of a misunderstood friendship, suggesting that Wolfe had genuinely tried to reconcile with Fritz before his death. They brought network executives to testify about Wolfe's public statements supporting Fritz's recovery. However, this theory was seriously undermined by the testimony of Fritz's personal doctor, who stated that while Fritz was concerned about his health, he remained optimistic about his recovery and had plans to start his own antiques business. The doctor also confirmed that he had never prescribed the drugs found in Fritz's system at such high doses. During cross-examination, Wolfe's carefully maintained composure began to crack. When asked directly if he had given Fritz the drugs, he snapped at the prosecutor, "You don't know what it's like to build something from nothing and watch someone else take the credit, smiling in front of the cameras while everyone thinks he's just as important to the success of the show." His outburst caused the defense team to request a recess, but the damage had already been done. The jury later reported that this moment was pivotal in their deliberations, as it revealed the lingering resentment Wolfe had harbored for years after Fritz left the show. The financial motive became clear when forensic accountants testified about suspicious changes in Wolfe's business structure. In the months leading up to Fritz's death, Wolfe had quietly restructured his companies to take control of Fritz's intellectual property in the event that he became incapacitated or passed away. If you believe in the power of truth and justice, join us in spreading this message to as many people as possible. Every action, every share from you helps create a stronger community where deception cannot thrive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us in continuing to share important stories. Together, we can create change and protect the values that matter. Thank you for standing with us, and be sure to keep following so you don't miss other meaningful videos. He had also purchased a business insurance policy for Fritz, making his company the beneficiary of a $5 million payout. Additionally, prosecutors revealed that Wolfe had set up several shell companies that Fritz was unaware of and had transferred valuable antiques into these entities, totaling over $2 million in assets. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict. When the judge announced a life sentence without the possibility of parole, everything completely spiraled out of control. Wolfe, who had remained calm throughout the trial, suddenly leapt up and shouted, "Don't you understand? He's going to destroy everything. He's going to destroy my legacy." He charged across the defense table, knocking over stacks of papers and a water cup. The bailiffs rushed toward him, but he lunged toward Fritz's family, swinging wildly before they could restrain him. The courtroom erupted into chaos as people screamed and rushed toward the exits while Wolfe managed to break free again. This time, he grabbed a neck brace that had been introduced as evidence and swung it like a weapon, hitting one of the bailiffs in the shoulder. "I built American Pickers. It's my life's work," he screamed as 3 other officers wrestled him to the ground. The judge was evacuated from the courtroom as Wolfe continued to resist violently, kicking and shouting about betrayal as officers tried to subdue him. Fritz's sister, who was present at the sentencing, had to be escorted out by security when Wolfe attempted to charge toward her. "I deserve this! It's my show!" he yelled, as they finally managed to handcuff him. The most shocking moment came when Wolfe locked eyes with Danielle Colby, who was sitting in the courtroom, and shouted, "Tell them the truth! Tell them what Frank was really like!" Colby turned away, clearly distressed, while other crew members broke down in tears. The American Pickers family was torn apart by the trial, with some supporting Wolfe, while others testified for the prosecution. Court documents revealed that Wolfe had systematically turned crew members against Fritz in the years leading up to his death, creating a deep rift in the production team that may never heal. As security personnel struggled to control Wolfe, he continued his tirade, revealing even more shocking details. "He was going to start his own show," he shouted. "He told me I was outdated, that the network wanted him back." Reporters in the courtroom described the scene as chaotic, with at least 3 people injured, including Wolfe's defense attorney, who was struck by a flying water bottle. Even as they dragged him out of the courtroom, he continued shouting about betrayal and his legacy, claiming that Fritz had planned to destroy him. Legal experts later commented that his violent outburst destroyed any chance of a successful appeal, as it contradicted his defense team's argument that he was a misunderstood businessman, incapable of using violence. In the days following the courtroom outburst, Wolfe's former friends and colleagues shared stories that shed light on his character. Former American Pickers producer Thomas Reynolds described instances where Wolfe would erupt in anger behind the scenes when things didn't go his way. "He maintained this perfect, down-to-earth image in front of the cameras," Reynolds said. "But off-camera, he could become terrifying, especially toward lower-level staff. When the cameras stopped rolling, his entire attitude would change." Others have described him as increasingly paranoid in recent years, believing that Fritz was plotting to return to television with a competing show. The case has sent shockwaves through the reality TV community. American Pickers, which has reached millions of viewers worldwide, is now facing an uncertain future. The History Channel has canceled all episodes featuring Wolfe and issued a statement expressing shock and sympathy for the Fritz family. Several major sponsors have pulled their support, and the future of the show remains in doubt. The Fritz family has filed for control of his antique collection and intellectual property, promising to honor his legacy while pursuing legal action against the network for allowing Wolfe's increasingly erratic behavior. Mental health experts have analyzed the case, suggesting that Wolfe may have developed a more severe narcissistic personality disorder due to years of being in the spotlight. Dr. Robert Keller, a forensic psychologist who followed the trial, explained, "While this does not excuse his behavior, it helps explain the discrepancy between his public persona and his private actions. People with narcissistic traits can appear charming and composed while harboring intense resentment and a desire for revenge. Fritz's departure from the show would have been a long-lasting blow to his narcissism. Perhaps the most concerning thing is how Wolfe uses his platform as a television personality to manipulate public perception. In the weeks following Fritz's death, he took to social media, tearfully sharing the news of Fritz's passing due to complications from his stroke, and seized the opportunity to release special merchandise in memory of Fritz. "This is not just a murder," prosecutor Sarah Donovan said in her closing arguments. "This is a calculated deception aimed at millions of viewers who trusted him, mourning alongside a man who killed his former spouse and is exploiting their grief to enrich himself." Investigators discovered that over $1 million was donated in the weeks following Fritz's death, with most of the funds transferred into accounts that only Wolfe had access to. When Mike Wolfe began his life before the verdict, viewers and former supporters had to reconcile the image of a passionate antique collector with the reality of a man capable of murder and violence in court. Many expressed feelings of betrayal, not just by Wolfe's actions but by years of deception. "We invited him into our homes every week," said longtime American Pickers viewer Robert Jenkins. "We trusted his down-to-earth charm and passion for preservation. Finding out it was all a facade is truly devastating." Former television personalities who had appeared alongside Wolfe distanced themselves, with statements expressing shock and calling for respect for Fritz's memory. For the American Pickers crew, the tragedy continues to unfold. Testimonies during the trial revealed a deeply divided production process, with some believing in Wolfe's innocence while others were convinced of his guilt. Danielle Kaibi, who testified for the prosecution, took a leave of absence from television, citing the need to heal and reflect. In a brief statement, she requested privacy and expressed hope that the original legacy of antique preservation, which had brought them all together, could continue despite these tragic circumstances. Other crew members have largely stayed out of the public eye as they struggle with the dual trauma of losing Fritz and witnessing Wolfe being convicted of murder. The judge's final comment before Wolfe erupted in rage seemed especially prophetic. "Mr. Wolfe, you have presented yourself as a champion of American history and preservation while harboring thoughts of vengeance and murder. You used your platform to preach the values of the past, while plotting to kill the man who helped build that very foundation." Today, justice is served not only for Frank Fritz, but also for the millions of viewers who trusted you. At this moment, Wolfe lunged across the table, beginning a violent outburst that would become his last public appearance before being taken away to spend the rest of his life behind bars. As the prison door closed on Mike Wolfe, his final words in the courtroom continued to echo. "Goodbye forever to all of you. The truth will be revealed one day." As the trial ended and Mike Wolfe was convicted for the death of Frank Fritz, a dark chapter in television history closed. Fritz's death was not just the loss of a person, but a wake-up call for all of us about the true nature of those we once trusted. This story is not just about betrayal, but also a reminder that justice will ultimately prevail, no matter how difficult the journey. With a life sentence, Mike Wolfe has paid for his criminal actions, but the pain he left behind for those around him will not fade easily. At the same time, Frank Fritz's legacy will live on, symbolizing honesty, passion, and selfless dedication. Though the world of American pickers has been forever changed, the spirit of preservation and the true values Fritz stood for will always endure. Farewell, Frank Fritz. Justice has been served, and the truth, though harsh, has finally been revealed. Remember, no matter how dark the shadows, the light of truth